All right, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your night. Heat Nation, we got the dub at home. Miami got the 106-92 victory here in Game 1 to take a 1-0 lead in this series. Game 2 will be on Wednesday, and we'll see what happens. This was it was a very interesting game for the most part. I think Philly definitely showed a lot of fight in the first half, and they showed us that this is not going to be as easy of a series as many thought when they initially heard that Embiid went down. In fact, I feel like I've seen a lot of Sixers fans' reaction to after the game, and some of them are looking at this and saying, hey, we fought. For much of this game, we fought. We have no Embiid, and for much of this game, we were close with you guys. It really wasn't until the fourth quarter that you guys started to take off, so we've got a chance. And that's what Miami definitely has to keep in mind, because the way they played tonight showed that they definitely got some fight. However, Miami was ultimately able to separate themselves and play Miami Heat basketball. And once we started playing Heat basketball, it was a wrap. So, yeah, that was pretty much all we have to say about the game for the most part in terms of the overall result. Now, getting into the game itself, let's speak on what the Sixers were able to do in the first half. The Sixers came out here and they punched Miami in the mouth. Miami had a week to rest. Meanwhile, the Sixers, they were closing it out in 6. Embiid gets hurt. All of a sudden, he's not here for game 1. Everyone that picked the Sixers immediately starts changing and saying, well, now Miami's going to win this in 5. And a lot of people see that being the case. We'll see if that holds up. But it is possible for Embiid to come back. But they knew that with the possibility of Embiid being able to play game 3 or 4, they got to come to Miami and try to steal one. You still have James Harden. You still have Tobias Harris. You still have Tyrese Maxey. You could go and steal a game here in Miami. They tried that, and they played like that in the first half. If you saw how they played, you looked at the way Tobias Harris played in the first half. You look at the way Tyrese Maxey played in the first half. Hell, if you look at the way James Harden played in the first half, you could clearly see that they had a shot, man. They came out there and they punched Miami in the mouth. Miami coming off of that week break, they just were not prepared for the level of intensity. I'm not going to say Miami relaxed, but they definitely came out here with a different level of tactic, or at least with some level of ease, because the way they were playing defense in the second quarter kind of made it seem like they kind of relaxed for a second, which is never what you want to see when it comes to Miami Heat. First quarter, Miami came out there and they started just imposing their will the way they're supposed to. They start dominating. There's no Joel Embiid, so this is obviously the game Bam can just go off and dominate whoever is mismatched on him. Whether it's DJ, whether it's Reed, it don't matter who is on him, he should be able to go out there and dominate. And Bam started off the game doing that. And Miami started off the game doing that. They had an early 18-6 advantage, and it looked like they were just going to blow these dudes out. But all of a sudden, Philly started attacking. You started seeing Tobias Harris continue to attack. He was hitting those step-back mid-range jump shots, those fadeaways. He was hitting those shots. They were coming down today. Then you see Tyrese Maxey, who is going to be a problem in this series, man. The speed that guy has, the speed he has is definitely going to be an issue for the Miami Heat moving forward. They're going to have to deal with him. But Maxey came in the first half, and he came with the intensity. He came with the speed. He was on full-on attack mode. And James Harden was just playing his game. In the first half, James Harden really looked like he was going to take this over. Like, he wasn't attacking or being as aggressive as you want, but he was managing the offense in a way that he was still able to get his buckets, but he was also getting Maxey involved. He was also getting the ball to Tobias Harris, and they were showing up. Now, Tobias finishes it to finish the game with 27 points, as you see here. 19 for Maxey, 16 for James Harden, ultimately because in the second half, he didn't really show up. There was not much from James Harden in the second half. It was that first half where these guys were making their impact. First quarter was really the dominating factor for the Heat, but once they got to that second quarter, you saw the physicality and the aggressiveness that was Tyrese Maxey. James Harden started to get into a rhythm, both facilitating the ball and just getting past dudes and driving to the basket, and Tobias Harris was hitting every shot he could get. So that ended up erasing a 14-point lead that at some point Miami got in that second quarter and made the 76ers take a 1-point lead heading into halftime. Miami played 3 good quarters of basketball. I'll definitely give it to them. 3 good quarters of basketball, because in the first quarter, they were playing that well, but they started to fall off. However, they did recover. So I will say that they played 3 good quarters of basketball today. First quarter, they played well. Third quarter, they played really good. Fourth quarter, they took the game over, and it was a wrap. Second quarter. Woo! The second quarter of this game was terrible basketball by Miami. They could not stop turning over the basketball. I believe it was 5 or 6 turnovers they had in the second quarter alone. They were turning the ball over. They were missing open shots. But most importantly, they couldn't play defense at all. Dudes were just driving past them. They were constantly fouling. They looked completely rattled. But they got themselves together in the second half. Jimmy Butler in this game did score 15 points. He had 9 rebounds and 3 assists. But Jimmy Butler, coming off of his rest and coming off of, his knee injury, Jimmy did not exactly look like himself for most of this game. He started off the game really well, and it looked like we were going to have one of those Jimmy Butler nights. But as the game went on, it just seemed like Jimmy didn't really have it long term. And, it's going to take him a little while to kind of get back into the rhythm that we normally see Jimmy Butler doing. So with Jimmy not really playing the way the way we're used to him playing right now in playoff Jimmy mode, and with, no Kyle Lowry in this game, obviously we needed somebody to step up for the most part. And of course, we got the man. In fact, we got 2 people. We talked about these 2 people. In the first round, neither one of these guys really showed up for much of the series. And we said in the next round, we needed both these dudes to show up in case, Jimmy's coming back slow or Kyle Lowry's just not there. We needed these 2 guys to show up and play well. And boy, did both these guys show up. I am talking about Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero. Now, I already talked about Adebayo. Early on, they were getting him the ball. He was taking advantage of the mismatches, and he was scoring early on. He did not stop. He continued to play like that. 24 points, 12 rebounds from him. He continued to impose his will on whoever was guarding him, and he continued to be aggressive. I love when Bam is aggressive because when he's aggressive, we're in a great place. What's also fantastic, perfect from the line. 8 of 8 from the free throw line. That's what you want to see from Bam. So he was just doing his thing tonight. But you knew that Bam couldn't be the only one to do what he was doing. Somebody else had to come alongside him. Enter Tyler Hero, who had a really good night. First half, he was kind of, getting himself in the rhythm. But that second half, he really started to take over. And I loved what I saw from him. 25 points from him, 7 assists from him. He played very well in this game. And Bam and Hero have shown up. Tyler Hero, by the way, to you, welcome to the playoffs, my friend. I'm glad to see you back to looking the way you've looked the entire season. This is the Tyler Hero we're used to seeing. This is the guy that averaged 21 points a game in the regular season. This is the guy that's most likely going to win 6th Man of the Year. That's the Tyler Hero we're used to seeing. He came out, hit a good chunk of threes, man. He was great from the 3-point line, 4-6 here. But, yeah, Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, they really put the team on their back and made some plays. But we also got to talk about a couple other people that definitely showed up. I want to give credit to Vincent because Vincent, he made some plays here and there. Had some nice assists too, but, he made some plays here and there. PJ Tucker legit was the heart and soul of the Miami Heat tonight. The amount of hustle this guy was showing on both offense and defense, just getting the rebounds, the defensive plays, the steals he was getting. This, or at least the steals he was trying to create, the pressure he was creating, because I don't think he got any steals. But the pressure he was creating that was forcing turnovers. That's what you love to see from PJ Tucker. He was aggressive. He brought the energy, especially in the second half. He just zoned in defensively, and when he zoned in defensively, everyone else started to zone in defensively, and all of a sudden, Miami started getting it going in the third quarter, and by the end of the third quarter, they're starting to get into their place. Fourth quarter, they just take it over, and that's a wrap. So PJ Tucker coming in, imposing his will on the defensive side, bringing in the energy that Miami needs, and you just love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. Other than that, we had some contributions here and there. Strus didn't really have a great night shooting. Neither did Victor Oladipo. But both of them did play some good defense, so we'll give them credit for that for the most part. The team today just played well as a whole. And I think the difference maker in this game that Philly's going to find out as this series goes on is that Miami's depth is so good that they could just go to distance in situations like this. I think Philly played so well in the first half that it made it look like these guys could steal it. But Miami knew as long as they calmed down and played a long game, because they have the depth to do so, just play the long game, calm yourself down, get back to what you're doing offensively and defensively, you'll continue to get those open looks that you were missing in the first half, and you'll make them in the second half. They just played Heat basketball. Meanwhile, the Sixers, At some point, just looking at them, it was a moment where I'm looking at James Harden, and he looks tired, and then I'm looking around at the rest of the starters, and they just look tired. Philly does not really have the depth that Miami has. Miami can go the distance because they have guys coming off the bench that can just be just as opposing defensively as the guys we have on our starting lineup. Not to say that the guys on the bench are better defenders, that's not the case, but we just got guys that all around they can hustle, play defense, and they'll make baskets. Philly doesn't really have that. They really have to rely on their main guys. That's why you're seeing a Tobias Harris play the way he did. That's why you're seeing a Tyrese Maxey and James Harden trying to carry the load. They don't really have guys coming off the bench that can really give you that level of production that Miami's bench is giving. And so when you put that into a factor, when you try to factor that into the game, you just realize at some point the Sixers are not going to be able to keep up with Miami if they're not getting any bench production. You got to get something. It's either you got to get something or your starters are going to have to do everything. Because, like, the performance you got from Tobias Harris, that's a great performance right there. He couldn't have played a better game than what he played tonight. Tyrese Maxey, obviously, we know he could definitely play better. But what he gave you in this game is good enough to win if you're getting it from somewhere else. You needed James Harden to give you a 30-point triple-double. Had James Harden had 30, 11, and 12 in this game, there's a great chance that we're sitting here and saying Philly could potentially upset these guys. I know they lost by double digits, but if you just put that in, either they lose a tight contested game or they find a way to pull it out. So James Harden, him not really being that much of a factor in the second half ultimately kind of hurt them. But at the same time, they just don't have the guys to keep up with Miami's bench. So when you have to rest your starters, what are they going to do? That's where it becomes a problem. But Philly, again, they'll be fine. At the end of the day, they'll be fine. Their ultimate solution is Joel Embiid. If they get Embiid back, they don't really have to worry. Not to mention, DeAndre Jordan, when he was on the court, was virtually ineffective. And honestly, he was, in some cases, a liability for them. So, yeah, in some cases, that aspect definitely hurt them. But, getting Embiid back is going to definitely change things up because he opens up everything for them. He's a dominating force, but he can also stretch the floor as well and hit threes. So they need their leader back in Joel Embiid. I'm very interested to see how Miami's going to play with both Harden and Embiid on the court together, if we can get that in a Game 3 or a Game 4, but we'll just have to see. Right now, we just finished Game 1. Game 2, obviously, is going to be in Miami on Wednesday. Embiid did not make the trip to Miami, so the earliest he could potentially play is either Game 3 or Game 4. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, with that being said, once again, congrats to the Miami Heat getting the job done, 106-92, as expected. You guys definitely had that moment in the second quarter where I'm looking around and saying, what the hell are you guys doing? This is not how y'all play basketball. Why y'all turning the ball around? Why y'all turning the ball over, not playing defense, looking around while guys pass you, and then just missing open looks? That is not Heat basketball, and y'all know it. But they got themselves together. I always trust Spoelstra's going to make the adjustments during halftime, and they're going to come out here in the third quarter and start playing Heat basketball and slowly take the game over. And that's exactly what happened. So we'll see what happens in Game 2. Hopefully Miami can defend home court, make it 2-0, and head to Philadelphia to potentially see Joel Embiid back. We'll see. But with that being said, that is all I've got, and I am out of here. Peace.